everyone. We're back after like a month and a half. We've had some sickness go through the home. So we're talking about today, the need for rest when we're forced into rest. And just kind of what else? Like
how to work through like the emotions, accept the rest when it comes. I had a couple people like contact me because I put it out there how I was sick and out for a month of everything. And I know Carol has had some health things come up the last year or so.
Several years, actually.
But I had some people messaging me telling me that they were going through the exact same thing. And you, for whatever reason, I mean, you heard it on the news, you heard it everywhere. Everybody was out, everybody was sick, whether it was the flu or whatever else they had going on, but it seemed like it was a repeating thing for everybody. And of course it's winter and immune systems are down and everybody, it's like that hibernation energy anyways. But I do feel like it was weird the way so many people were just out. I mean, it was the first time that it happened to me where I was out for literally a month. Usually I can jump back. I actually tried to go back to work for a week in between.
Well, I could still hear it in your sinuses. And before we started, you're like, I hope I don't cough. So you're still, you're still getting over it. But
so what was interesting, which I also heard the story with some of the people who connected with me during this, because we wanted to talk about just how to work through the things that are coming up for you when you're sick or just when your body's calling for you to rest. And I think the biggest thing is the resistance that comes with it, because that's what I noticed was the biggest thing for the first week or so for me was that I was resisting it. Like I knew the things that I should be doing. I knew I needed to rest. My body was clearly telling me that, but I would catch myself laying in bed and I couldn't relax. Or I was like, oh my God, well, if I'm off of work, like I could get this done, or I could catch up on laundry, or I could catch up on this work. And it took me about a week to seriously like let go of all of that, the mind of the resistance. And I feel like it is what helped me heal faster, because that whole first week, like I felt the worst that I ever did. And I feel like what contributed to that really was the fact that I was resisting where I was.
I was going to say a couple years ago, when I broke my first rib, because I broke another rib in the last year, but a couple years ago, I think I know I shared this story with you. I don't know if I shared it here yet, but I was in a Reiki session and I saw Jesus's face, and he said, I did feel releases out of the right side of my leg, but at the time I heard, what was it? Suffering, pain is inevitable, suffering's a choice. But it stuck with me because whenever I hear something, then I'll, think about it until I fully understand it. And it occurred to me, now I was back at work, my rib was fine or better at the time. But I spent 6-8 weeks in so much physical pain, but emotional pain, because I felt stuck. I was so mad that I had so much stuff to do that I was just so mad and just resisting the whole 6 weeks. But when it was over, now I was back at work. Now I had like deadlines and things to do, and I was overwhelmed trying to play catch up. And I just kept thinking, when I was in that space, I just kept thinking like, oh my God, why didn't I take a mini vacation on the couch? Why didn't I get a book? I could have read a whole book, like Suffering's a Choice. Pain is inevitable. So I'm like, okay, I'm in pain, but I could have made the best of it. I could have went with the flow, but I spent, 8 weeks resisting it. But what I wanted to say is, because I broke another rib recently, in the last year or whatever, is that I think it's something, because I think we're going to talk about integration too. It's something like, it's not a one and done. That message came to me 2 years ago now, 2 or 3 years ago. Pain is inevitable, suffering's a choice. But every time it comes up, I still resist it. But I also do something a little different. It might be 5 weeks down resisting it rather than the full 7. And I think that's what people need to hear too, because then you beat yourself up thinking, that you're not.
Wait, hold on. Because right before we started this, she wanted the microphone right in her face.
Right there.
I said, you're going to hit it. And she said, I don't ever hit it. I
never hit it. So I hit it.
Continue.
But anyway, so I think people, then they think like they didn't do it right. Now I did it again and I kept myself. And then you're beating yourself up over all that the fact that you can't relax, the fact that you're resisting, and now you know you're resisting and it's still happening. But if you just take a breath and know that you got the message, and it takes time for that to become your new normal way of thinking and being, and so
I feel like that really is a big thing though in any like form of growth within your life.
Yes, that's what I was
like. Clients always ask me like, okay, I understand it, but how do I do it? How do I do it? And what I tell them is literally 50% of my days look like me going back and forth with myself in my head about how I feel, what I should do, what I want to do. And it's like the things that I know I'm connected to that feel right or authentic in that moment, whatever it is, like I just have to remind myself or like constantly tell myself in my head, like, this is what you're deserving of, or this is what I want. It's not like a one and done thing. Like, you know it, so you should be 100% at it and never, fall off that track. But I feel like
tell yourself that you are doing it. Just having the awareness. I'm not the person who was laying on the couch, with my rib broke, that was in full resistance. That's not me anymore. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because
acknowledging that within yourself and saying you're doing the best you can, you're doing great. Like how often? So 50% telling yourself that. And incorporating telling yourself you're doing amazing, like you're doing great.
Because I feel like just having the simple awareness of these things is what already it already starts to shift your energy.
Rolling,
But people, I feel like, can get so stuck in doing, like, what can I do? What do I have to do? What is the right thing to do? When really, especially when we're talking about resting and when you're being called to slow down, it's just listening to yourself. And all of that jumps back to our last episode. So if you didn't listen to that, definitely you can pause this and finish listening to that one. It's tuning into your intuition and how to trust yourself. Because having that connection to yourself is the only way you're going to know how to listen to yourself when you're needing rest before you get to that burnout stage, or before you get to the point where your body says no and it takes you out for a month with a sickness or an injury, or anything else like that. Which is why I feel like every single episode we have is so interconnected, and like it really does help to listen to all of them because these teachings jump off of one another. And in order to, like I was just saying, be able to support yourself and listen to your needs and be aware of your needs, you have to be able to slow down enough to ask yourself, what are you needing, and have that connection to yourself and know, that that's what you're deserving of.
And I think I could speak for myself. I've gone in and out of connecting with myself, and when I'm out of it, I am in a mess. Like that is true. I could really say that is true. And so like 2 months ago, we were at your what was that? Your vision board class, and I go to get up to go get some pictures, and my leg brushed up against someone's coat or something, and it was tingly, and I was like, what the heck? And I pick up my leg, and my legs were huge, and they were like plastic, like they were so swollen, and my ankles so swollen. And anyways, I didn't know that's how disconnected I was from my body that was tingly. And then touching it, I was like, oh my God, it felt like a balloon. And I'm like, how did they get that big? But I was rushing that day. I was doing things and but anyway, I ended up putting my feet up to finish. But it's just like that I was not connected to my own physical body, because that's what we're talking about, physical body.
Yeah.
And I was just like shocked that day, like, because and this is for me and a lot of probably moms or busy people.
Yeah.
Sometimes we put ourselves on the back burner, and
so many people do
we
that.
lose
I feel
that
like that's
disconnect
what you're taught
from
to
do. That is what I would yes, that's what I feel like. You keep going. Like, oh, like it's one little thing, my legs are swollen, but but it's everything. It's like you get up, you keep going, you're strong, you move through it, like that mentality, which is the complete opposite of listening, tuning in, where, you know, you could still do everything by still having that connection to your body. Just keep that in consideration. Like now I put my feet up and I still finished the class, but my feet were up because I needed to put them up.
That reminds me so perfectly of the quote that I heard while I was sick that I think I shared on social media, which if you guys don't follow us, I'm sure you do, but that's where we post everything. Instagram and Facebook, Medium, Kaylie and Carol. But I shared the quote that I heard was, everybody has 1,001 problems until they have a health problem, and then they only have one.
So
which is the health problem,
Always.
which I really think, and I never realized, because up until this point, up until the last 6 months, I never had any health related issues, and I was thinking about that because earlier in the year I had some like dental stuff
say that
going
again,
on.
that quote again, because I think we like go, but
everyone has 1,001 problems until they have a health problem, and then they only have one. But I was saying, like, up until the last 6 months, I never had any, which I was so blessed for. I'm still young, you know, like, I'm sure that contributes to it, but it's only been the last 6 months that I've been really noticing my body and everything that it, you know, helps me go through, which is life, like, every single thing. And so I was thinking, and, like, why is it that we're so easily to, like, put our physical bodies or our self-care on the back burner when we cannot live this life without our bodies? Like, that we literally cannot, we can't experience the love, the joy, the pain, the connection. We can't do any of it if we're not taking care of ourselves. So
I
why
think
is
we
it the
said that
first
before
thing?
we started, like, our love, our message is as good as our temple. Like, so, you know, what good is it if we can't even share who we are or anything? But like you said about that quote, that reminds me of a quote, I won't know what it is, but it is something like, you're either spending time
it's like
towards your health or towards your sickness. Something.
Yeah, if you're not making time for your health, you're gonna make time for your sickness.
It's perfect with that one, because it's what happens. So then you're not making time for it. You're not tuning in and allowing yourself to stay connected to your physical body. Then sickness happens. Yeah.
So how do we move through all of this then? I feel like none of the things, the tools, anything that we say will do anything if you don't bring it back to the core belief and understanding that that's what you're deserving of. Like, you are deserving of attention from yourself. You are deserving of love and of care. Like, we have to bring it back to that, because like we talked about, so many of us were rewarded for in different ways for putting others first and for pushing through. You're so strong. Like, look at everything that you've done. Like, you know, look at everything you've gone through. And it's like I didn't have to do that. Like, it could have been so much easier. I could have taken things in stages, and it wouldn't have been such of a strain on myself or my mental or my physical if I would have just taken the time to honor myself and my temple the way that it's been asking for this whole time. Which is just so crazy. So just going back to, like, how important your belief systems are. We talk about this every time. And if you don't have that belief that that's what you're deserving of, everything that I just talked about, then it's going to make it that much harder to like take these actions to take care of yourself the way that you're needing. And I've been telling myself like,
and like, is someone going to just say, oh, I have this belief, let me look at my belief? When people, I think like that, or think, oh, is it something I'm telling myself? Is this a belief pattern? When that happens, I think it's because they're feeling so disconnected.
But it's also like a little light bulb that's saying like, hey, this isn't serving me, or hey, this is ready to shift. Like if it's coming up for you, it means there's something within you that's ready to shift it. Even if you're listening to this right now, to the whole
that's what I
belief
mean. That's
that
where they could connect it to their belief system. And and I know that we see themes in one another, like what you were saying, you know, we're told to get up and keep going, get up, go, go. And there's a time and place, I think, for that energy, but I think it overtook like a lot of
the society. But that's why it's like people think when you slow down and rest, like you're never going to want to get back up and going again. And I mean, that might be true for a period of time, depending on how long and how much you push yourself. Like, yeah, your body might want to stay out for 6 months or want to take it slow. But if you can find that balance and that connection, like that motivation is always going to show up again, because it's most likely things that you're connected to or you're wanting and that you're feeling pulled to. So like not having the fear like, oh, I'm never going to want to get things done again, or I'm never, like even the simple thing, I always have a hard time folding my laundry. Like I can clean it, but I just lay it out on the couch in my room. But even the simple thing of like, I deserve a clean space. Like that's the things that I tell myself to do, the things that like I'm being lazy about or don't really, or whatever. Or when it comes to like exercise or like working out, I used to have, which I'm sure some people can, you know, connect with this too. I used to have such a like 0 to 100 extreme with like working out or the gym, where I felt like I could never take it easy. Like if I'm going to the gym, it has to be 6 days a week.
Oh yeah,
I have to do cardio for half hour to you know, lift weights as much as I could. I had to constantly be you know, going heavier and whatever. But like now I just keep telling myself like, I don't care what it is, my body just deserves movement. So whether it's like 20 minutes on my sister's walking pad or around the block with a snowsuit on in the middle of Chicago winter, like my body is deserving of that movement. And it's so true. And that's what allows me to stay connected to the actions that I'm trying to take, even if I don't want to go out in the cold right now and go for a walk.
And but it's crazy that you say that, because obviously we're cut from the same cloth when it comes to that, because 100% mentality, and I have been adapting the same thing. I think we've been integrating what we're saying, and we've been learning ourselves, because and it's amazing how that walk around the block or on the walking pad really helps movement within your mental mind, within your, and it has been enough even for me, and I'm like, oh, I feel so good. And it's like I only walk 30 minutes, like that's not, it's before I'm like an hour no matter what, 4 times around, like this is what I have to do. And now I'm moving and I'm like, oh, I feel good for the whole day. It like sets me up. And
that's come through in sessions before, where clients will feel so stuck mentally or emotionally. And I always say, like, if it's at that point and you're stuck, like,
just move.
Control what you know you can. If there's a situation happening in your life that you can't control or whatever, like, take what you can control and see your power and go for a walk or start to move the energy, because anything that we can do, our energy is our energy and our physical body is connected to that energy. So that's why, like, doctors in other countries, maybe not ours, but the first thing they tell you if someone's not feeling well or depressed or whatever, like the first thing is like, do you have an exercise routine? Do you move your body? Because it puts out certain hormones, dopamine in your body that gets things moving differently internally, but also energetically. Like it just starts to move things. Like how many times during your walk did your head feel clearer and you were able to see things in a different way?
I'm just thinking, last year in February, I got diagnosed with high blood pressure. I'm so mad about it still, but it's okay. So I am on medication. I don't have it all figured out because my goal would be to get off it as soon as I can. But I found myself not getting lazy with it, but okay, the medicine's doing its job. I don't know where I'm going with this, but I didn't walk. I didn't, it's almost like I fell into whatever was going on in my life and I was having a hard time. So depression, I think you said, feeling stuck. I was feeling stuck, but I also was not using it as a crutch, but do you know what I'm saying? That was there. So now when my legs swell, it's actually a side effect from the medication. And I'm like, okay, so that's how disconnected I was now twice, because I was like, oh yeah, the medicine's doing its job, even though my strong belief is there's things that I can do in a positive way to help my blood pressure. Not saying that I could get off the medicine or not. That's a whole nother subject. But for now, I just started moving again. But that is whether it's because the energy is getting stuck in my legs from the medicine but I'm not going to figure it out by just sitting there and thinking, you know what I mean? And then
in a way it's like taking your power back, because you think
even if you're
okay, I need this, or they're telling me I need this, so that's all I can do, or there's no other option. But in a way it's seeing well, there's still things you can do. Maybe the more natural route, but they can go hand in hand. You don't have to just feel stuck or relying on one thing, and adding other things like movement or whatever you feel pulled to, healthier foods, different types of foods. But I was
allowing it, and the resistance and the way I was viewing it, and my upset, surrounding having to take the medication, that I was just I gave up for moment type of thing. But like you said, taking back your power, there's still stuff you could do. And it was the moving that my legs do feel better when I move, but also your mind. It's so connected that,
so how do we, I feel like we just have to start, because I keep going back to well, how do we help these people?
I know, me too.
Do everything we're saying?
Small things. I used to tell my good friend who was so overwhelmed. Her thing was her bedroom. She would just put everything in there, but the rest of her house was perfect and all this stuff. But she's like, oh, my bedroom, whatever. And she actually loves her bedroom. She could stay in there forever, she was telling me. And but there's just so much clutter. And I would tell her back then, and when I told her, I was like, that's such a good idea. But did I, implement it? Not at the time. But put a timer on, for 10 minutes and just spend 10 minutes. And because it's more so sticking to what you say to yourself also.
Which is everything we talked about last episode.
Yeah, so which is not, it is overwhelming. Your bedroom's overwhelming. You'd be in there 5-6 hours, and then to think, when would I have 5-6 hours? But if you spent 10 minutes in there and you accomplished something, but more importantly, stuck to what you told yourself, there is some clarity there that's coming in your own physical body from taking 10 minutes of clearing out that space. So
how to not beat yourself, because I feel like that's the first thing people want to do is beat themselves up over
that's why
how did I let my room, how did I get my room like that, but they can still be stuck in how did I let my room get like that, or how did I let myself get so sick? I do everything that was the thing for me in the beginning of the sickness, was I was feeling defeated, because I feel like I'm a pretty healthy person, and that was what was just constantly running through my head. I'm like, I try to eat all the right foods, I try to get the right protein, I try to move my body, I do everything I'm supposed to do. Why am I the one that's sick? I was getting so angry about it. But
that's a mindset too.
Yeah.
The universe is working for you,
not at you.
or
Yeah.
against you. Like, what do you want to believe?
Yeah.
And if it's working for you, then you're like, thank you. Put your feet up.
Yeah.
Can you make me soup, Mom?
But no, like, and so how, like, the only way to not beat yourself up during those times is to see, I mean, it is a good perspective that I always try to remind myself of, that life is happening for us. And so during that time, or even like the last couple weeks with the things that I still have lingering and going on, I've been a little slower with clients, even though I'm back. And I would catch myself like, well, why am I slow? Like, I was just off for a month. Like, why is this happening? But I have been telling myself lately, like, I really do have this belief and this trust that the universe is only going to give me what I can handle at this time. And if I'm slow, then I'm slow for a reason. And there's still something that I need, whether it's rest or care or whatever. But I really have been telling myself that, and I feel like it really has been helping, and it's really strengthened that that trust or that belief, because now I look for, okay, I'm slow, and then I ask myself, what am I needing then? Like, it's the first thing I ask myself, because the universe will never give you what you can't handle, and so that's what I really believe, and that's what's been helping me not beat myself up through this, but really just even going back to, like, just validating yourself, like, yeah, your room's a mess, or the house is a mess and you let it get that bad, but see everything else you've been dealing with. Acknowledge and validate everything else that you've been going through for however long. Of course your house is going to be a mess. Of course things are going to be out of place and not look how you wanted to. So now that you've seen that and you've acknowledged it, now what? And then you can, take that plan to take little steps, or whatever steps you feel comfortable with, to get to that resolve, to feel better about your space or your body or whatever it is that's coming up. So.
Yeah. So I just keep thinking and hearing through all of it too, which is, again, something I think me and you have touched on and tried to really implement in our life, is to give ourselves grace.
Yeah.
And it's okay. And you're doing a lot. And just stuff like that. Like, and to remind ourselves throughout the day or week or whatever that we see ourselves.
And I feel like in doing so just makes it so much easier to work through things. Like, when you feel like you have your own back and like you are on your side, it makes it feel so much easier to move forward in the things that you're wanting to move forward with.
And I'm just touching on that now. I've been on this spiritual journey, which I believe it's also a for me, it's been self-actualization at the same time. It's not just a mediumship journey for me, but with it, I think I'm really getting to that place now, which is amazing, and having your own back, which is really just seeing yourself. I know for me, I wanted, I spent a lot of my life, I guess, proving to people or trying to show
others
them.
to see
yes,
you.
to show them. And then when they didn't even see my value or anything, and how hurtful that is, and then I even have proof, but I've been doing this, and none of that mattered. But now when I have literally sat with myself for so long, and as of recent, and I'm seeing these things, I'm like, wow, we don't.
But do you see that mirror, like, so beautifully, like what you were wanting other people to tell you and to see about yourself and to acknowledge about yourself? Like, all your soul was asking for was for you to see it from you.
Yeah. I don't know. Yes, that's good.
Yeah. So this was a fun conversation. We're still working through it, working through the resistance and all of this. And I feel like that's the best part, though, that we can sit down and have these conversations, and have you guys listen, but also know that, like, we're working through it too. Like, I feel like that's the most beautiful part, because there's new things that we learn every day, but I feel like that's why we get excited to sit down and talk, because it's like, look at this perspective that we figured out, like, let's share it.
And just that, give yourself time too, like, change doesn't happen overnight, and it does happen overnight. It's crazy. It's the paradox of life. It's like, we're always working, or we're always growing, and we're always, like, I don't know, everything's always changing, but taking time to see.
So give yourself grace. Listen to your body. Your body really is your temple. You can't experience anything you want to experience in this life if you're not taking care of yourself. And if you're someone who was out for a month like me, or even sick or at all, just give yourself understanding. Choose to see the perspective of why you needed that space, and what you can do now and moving forward to implement that rest or that self-care in your daily or weekly life, so that you don't get to that point again. And maybe you do, and maybe you still get to that point again, and that's okay too, because that's what you're needing. So,
well, thank you.
All right, see you guys next time.